This is a Film Stories original podcast.
When you make decisions for your company, you always look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing and shipping to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. It streamlines your process to make your business more efficient, which makes you less busy. Mail checks, invoices, legal documents, books, and everything you need to keep your business running with Stamps.com. Seamlessly connect with every major marketplace and shopping cart if you sell online. Schedule package pickups through the dashboard and automatically see your cheapest and fastest shipping options from different carriers, with rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. And with the Stamps.com mobile app, you can take care of mailing and shipping wherever you are, even on the go. Make the same no-brainer decision as over 1 million other business decision makers with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com with code PROGRAM for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.
We made this.
Welcome back, everybody, to the X-Cast. As ever, the truth is in here. You are listening to our special Fight the Future Minute podcast, where we are going through the X-Files Fight the Future 1 minute at a time. It's something like 114 podcasts in total is where we're going to end up with this. It's kind of incredible. I'm Carl Sweeney. I'm your host for today. Really pleased to be with you today. Really pleased to be doing quite a few of these episodes. And yeah, today we're covering, I think it's minute 30. Yeah, minute 30, that's where we are. Which begins with Agent Mulder and Kurtzweil, who is Martin Landau's character, who turned up a short time ago. This minute picks up with them still talking in the back alley, and it ends with them still talking, but they've moved inside the bar by the end of it. And to discuss this minute, I'm joined once again, and for the final time in this little run of episodes, I think, by Katie Doe. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Carl.
Yeah, how are you doing today? How's Massachusetts?
It's good. It's lovely and sunny.
But you said you had some snow though. Is that so? That's going to date this recording.
It is. So it's January right now. Yeah, we had some snow last night. It's very pretty out right now.
Yeah, I'm a fan of snow. I am. We haven't had any this year. We've had a very mild, uninteresting winter in the UK, I'm afraid. Yeah, so January. That's an indication, listeners. I don't know exactly when you're listening to this, but this has been months in the planning. This episode. All these episodes. Okay, so this minute, let's talk a bit about this then. So one of the things I picked up from the commentary track is that this wasn't shot in a great neighbourhood, apparently. And they were talking on there about the fact that the neighbourhood apparently had big rats. And I couldn't quite work out if they were speaking literally or if they were kind of talking about something else covertly. I don't know. But it looked nice, didn't it? It looked kind of like a nice, kind of dingy back alley, I guess.
It was moody. It was a good alleyway. Yeah.
So what do you make of what Kurtzweil and Mulder discussed here? I guess one of the most significant things he says is that he's an old friend of Mulder's father's. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the way he plays it, though, because I think it's a good performance, because you're never quite sure with him how much is true, how much he's kind of spinning the tale. I don't know. What did you think? Yeah,
he's not giving up too much, but like you said before, it's enough for Mulder to sort of to pique his interest. But he's not all in just yet. Even by the end of this minute, he's not really believing him just yet. But I like it. It's a good back and forth, informant kind of role. And with the gravitas, I think he has, the same thing as like Deep Throat and the Syndicate members. So it's a really good performance and a really good, choice of actor.
I think that's a good point, isn't it? Because it's been a while. I guess by this point in the series, the informant role has kind of fallen a bit by the wayside, hasn't it?
Yeah, we have Marita, but...
Yeah, Marita, but she had a few early appearances as an informant, didn't she? And then she kind of moves into a different area, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same dynamic.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a shame. So I think it's good that they included Kurtzweil. I don't know, I think some of the stuff with Kurtzweil is some of the more interesting stuff in the film. I mean, what do you think? Do you like it?
I do. I like it a lot.
I mean, you're going to be talking later in the in these podcasts, aren't you, about some later stuff with him? I think especially the more it moves on, we sort of learn a bit about him, don't we? His backstory.
Yep, his backstory, the theories and everything, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I picked up on the commentary for this minute is they all kind of just become fanboys talking about Martin Landau. And because so I'm talking about Carter and Spotnitz, and also Rob Bowman talks a bit about being a fan as well. And they mainly associate him with the original Mission Impossible TV series.
Oh, okay.
Which I'll confess I've never really seen. I don't know if you have, Katie.
No, I haven't.
I've never really seen it pop up in the TV schedules over here. Maybe I need to go and check it out. And the other thing they talk about is that he has quite an interesting supporting role in Hitchcock's North by Northwest. Just to give a kind of a sense of how long his career was, because that's back to the 1950s, obviously.
Yeah.
Have you seen that film?
I haven't. I haven't really seen much of Hitchcock because I'm always a little bit, I'm not very brave when seeing movies, so.
Okay. North by Northwest is a good one to kind of check out, I think, because you'll definitely see that there are some other aspects of Fight the Future that kind of feel a bit North by Northwest as well. It's just one big adventure, basically.
Okay.
Kind of like a cross-country adventure. But he basically plays kind of a henchman type figure. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking at... Okay, so this is kind of a sequel to my bartender facts from a couple of episodes ago. This is uselessdaily.com, 16 interesting facts about Martin Landau. So I don't know if you want to hear some of these, Katie.
Sure.
So he was born in 1928. So at this point he is 70 by the time the film is released.
Okay.
Brooklyn, New York. From a Jewish family. So his father, an Austrian-born machinist, scrambled to rescue relatives from the Nazis.
Oh, wow.
Right. His career, he wasn't always an actor. At the age of 17, he found work at the New York Daily News, where he spent the next 5 years as an editorial cartoonist, working to produce the comic strip The Gumps. Which I have no idea what that is, but he quit at 22 to concentrate on acting in the theatre. So he auditioned, apparently, for the Actors Studio in 1955, and there were only 2 applicants admitted out of the 500 that applied. So Martin Landau was one, and Steve McQueen was the other.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty good company, isn't it?
It is good company.
So he trained there. He eventually became an executive director with the studio. And while he was attending there, he became good friends with James Dean.
Wow.
So this is a quote. James Dean was my best friend. We were 2 young, would-be, and still yet to work, unemployed actors, dreaming out loud and enjoying every moment. We'd spend lots of time talking about the future, our craft, and our chances of success in this newly different, ever-changing modern world we were living in. So he's mixing in some pretty esteemed circles here, isn't he?
Definitely.
James Dean, Steve McQueen. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, first major Broadway debut in 1957. First big film appearance is North by Northwest, 1959. He's also in stuff in the 60s like Cleopatra and The Greatest Story Ever Told. So yeah, amazing. Mission Impossible, which we talked about, he received several Emmy Award nominations for that. Space 1999. Again, that's a big series that I've heard a bit about, but I've never watched that one. Have you?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
And we've talked a bit about his Oscar nominations. So it seemed like he was somebody who... It's kind of a nice story, really, because his career really kicks into high gear then in the 80s. He's getting these big film roles, and into the 90s. So it's nice when that happens, I think. It's the same as somebody like Morgan Freeman or something, where they actually become really well known quite late, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not much else, really. 2 daughters. Died at the age of 89 from after a brief hospitalisation. I don't know, Katie, anything else about this minute that really jumped out at you? So we still kind of in flux, aren't we, as this ends? Because Kurtzweil and Mulder, they're still kind of talking, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're going back and forth. One of the things I did a little research on, actually, he says he and his father were fellow travelers at the State Department. So I kind of looked up what that was. And apparently the definition is a person who is intellectually sympathetic to the ideology of a political organization and cooperates without being a formal member. So the U.S. used it, you know, mostly during communism.
Yeah, like the McCarthy hearings and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of... I think I'd heard that term before, and that's kind of what I took it to mean, yeah. I mean, do you believe him? Do you think he really is speaking the truth when he says, you know, I knew your father, we were fellow travellers? Or do you think he's kind of laying it on a bit thick?
I think he's trying to get Mulder intrigued. I mean, because, you know, later on, Mulder does find proof that he did know the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure, but he's definitely trying to, you know, hook him.
And it's kind of a shame, isn't it? Because we've talked a lot about Mulder. I mean, are you missing Scully at this point in the film? Do you feel like... Because we said later on in the film she gets kidnapped, and she maybe doesn't get as much to do in like the back half of Fight the Future. Do you feel like it's too much of a Mulder piece?
I think it's definitely a Mulder piece, but like we just left her at the hearing, but it was kind of more focused on Mulder. We'll see her again in a few minutes, but I think it definitely focuses on Mulder more than Scully. And
let me ask you, while you're with me, so the film, obviously, it goes on to be the stuff about the bee and the kiss that doesn't quite happen and stuff. Like, how do you feel about all that? You know, the kind of relationship and will they, won't they? Are you into all that stuff?
No, I love that bee. I'm not a shipper at all. So.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that little bee. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it felt really forced. You know, it was supposed to be a big moment for the movie, but it felt weird in their timeline that it would be such a big deal.
All right, Katie. So, unless there's anything else you wanted to point out about minute 30, I guess we could leave it there. Anything else you wanted to say? Or?
I think it's just interesting how Mulder keeps meeting his informants in bathrooms. You know, because Deep Throat, that's where he met him in a bar restroom. Yeah. And are we supposed to think it's the same bar? Because Kurtzweil said he heard Mulder frequents this, bar quite a bit.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that.
Because we don't really see it it's just kind of a weird line.
Yeah, that stood out to me because he doesn't really... Because like you say, he suggests that Mulder is like a regular or a semi-regular.
Yeah.
And we don't really get that from the series, do we?
No.
I've never really got the impression that Mulder's turning up after a night of drinking or anything like that from the show.
No, that's kind of why I just hearken it back to the episode Deep Throat. That's really the only other time we see them in a pub establishment. Okay,
Katie. Well, thanks for today. I mean, I've really enjoyed talking to you for the last 4 episodes.
Yeah,
but
me
it's
too.
Going to be it's been a lot of fun, but it's going to be somebody else with me for minute 31. I think Caredwen Foley is going to be with me next time out as Mulder and Kurtzweil continue talking. And as Mulder calls a cab in the next episode, that's something to look forward to, listeners. Katie, just before we get in, so just remind us where we can find you online and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I'm on Twitter at Designer Doe, and I'm also on Facebook in the XCast basement, taking part in all the good, quizzes and polls and discussions. So it's a good time.
Yeah, come and join us over there, listeners. Please do. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at CKJ Sweeney. Happy to talk X-Files with anyone who would like to. But that's it for today. So we'll be back on Fight the Future Minute very, very soon indeed. But until next time, until our next minute, remember, as always, trust no one.
Previously on the We Made This Network. Here lies Amicus.
This is the only time you actually get any sort of grounded history, and a bit more of a background on why he's there.
I mean, it's maybe 5 minutes.
If that.
And then Dick's like, "Oh, I have to go," and you're like, "Where do you have to go, Dick?"
Yeah, science got a science.
He's
got to go sciencing.
And then the grandfather says to Pat, "Oh, I don't think you should see that young man again because the devil comes in many forms." And you're like, "Okay."
How can he tell? He can't even see him.
Observing the Pattern, a Fringe podcast.
Yeah, so at this point we're getting to the dropping the idea of multiple universes, the possibility of travelling from one to another, which
beings that are more advanced, like us, but more advanced.
Yep.
In a earlier point of the timeline. So definitely seeds of things we see later.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier on, it is dropping ideas that are going to come in fully over the next 5 or 10 episodes.
The giddy carousel of pop.
So if you look at that front cover, there is a very obvious choice of somebody who actually should have been the cover. The answer to that is Janet Jackson. The choice I had to make at the time, I suppose there were 3 choices, were Wayne Hussey from The Mission, Margaret Thatcher, which is a whole other ball of wax, which we'll come to, and Janet Jackson. And the reason why this fails is because they used to announce the chart, I think, on a Tuesday morning. And my decision to put Wayne Hussey in the cover would have been all about a bet, if you like, that The Mission would be higher in the chart than Janet Jackson. The magazine's gone to bed, it's at the printers, it's about to come out. And he's counting down the top 40, and The Mission have gone in at, number 32 or something. I mean, that's bad enough, but I'm now just thinking, we've just got to hope that Janet Jackson hasn't gone into the chart, because he's got to 20 and he hasn't mentioned it yet. 19 and at 18, 17. Oh, please God, you know. And of course, in at number 4 is Janet Jackson.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.